8:30 Eastern time. Great game. This game is really, really good. It's probably one of the best Thanksgiving games that I've seen in a while. Except for maybe, I feel like the last Thanksgiving game, my brother reminded me that this Thanksgiving game was really good. I believe it was in 2019. It was Saints versus Falcons, and that was a really good Thanksgiving game as well. But this is one of the best I've seen in quite a while. 49ers versus Seahawks, just how the schedule makers made it. I really like this matchup. Let's start with the first. The Seahawks have 3 solid receivers. And the 49ers really haven't faced a team that has 3 really good receivers. Jackson Smith-Njigba, Tyler Lockett, and DK Metcalf. All guys who can get open one-on-one. So how do you defend this team? Because I was talking about the Eagles and their deep threat. The Seahawks have a deep threat in Tyler Lockett as well. Jackson Smith-Njigba could do really well against potentially Ambry Thomas, who's most likely starting in this game. And so the 49ers have 2 solid cornerbacks. We know that. Lenore is, I think, starting to ascend into the more than solid category. But right now, the 49ers have 2 solid cornerbacks. Who's going to cover the third guy on the Eagles? Ambry Thomas? That's a matchup I don't want to see. Because all year we've played a team that, the Browns, that game was in rainy weather, so the passing game was impeded a little bit. But they had Amari Cooper and Elijah Moore as their 2 receivers. I can't remember a team that actually has 3 really good receivers on it. So that's going to be an interesting matchup. Seahawks offensive line, not bad. I mean, Charles Cross, I would say, has taken a little bit of a step down this year. His PFF grade isn't great, 68.3, but he still has a great pass blocking grade, 74.9. So he's not a terrible tackle. I do think that whenever you're facing Nick Bosa, you're going to look bad. And the interior offensive line, I mean, you look across the board here, is nowhere near elite. None of these guys are nowhere near elite on the interior offensive line. I'm pretty sure Evan Brown is their starting center, if I can remember correctly. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think Evan Brown is their starting center. But he doesn't have a great grade, and his stats don't look great. So expect the Niners to get pressure on the interior. Like I said, the Buccaneers, their interior offensive line was not good. And the Seahawks interior offensive line and offensive line in general doesn't look the greatest. And so I think the 49ers could get pressure there. And this is, again, a mismatch that the 49ers had, just like they had last week. So pressure up the middle is going to be key. Running the ball. Seahawks have quite a good run game. Obviously, we know that they have Kenneth Walker, and then they have a really good change of pace back, kind of goal line back in Zach Charbonnet. That's going to be key. But the 49ers have done a really good job at defending the run all year. So we'll see what I know that, Geno Smith isn't coming into this game fully healthy with an elbow injury. So I expect the Seahawks to maybe get a little bit more run happy in this game. And that could probably bode well for the Seahawks, because that will obviously take away possession from the 49ers offense, which I think is going to do very well. And so, hey, maybe they do good. And I think the Seahawks, when they have played the 49ers, it's either been Russell Wilson putting on a show or the Seahawks just running the hell out of the ball. I think they're going to try to run the heck out of the ball, because if you're trusting Geno Smith to go down the field with it, I know the Seahawks have really good receivers, but it comes down to the point of how good is this offensive line? How long are they going to hold up versus the vaunted 49ers defensive line? So expect them to run the ball a lot. Defensively for the Seahawks, we all know that they have 2 very good cornerbacks, Devon Witherspoon and Tariq Woolen. So expect them to really, that's a good matchup. One of the key matchups, Devon Witherspoon versus Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk, top 5 route runner, in my opinion, in the league, versus a top 5 cornerback, arguably, in Devin Witherspoon. That's going to be a so fun matchup to watch, let me tell you. And Seahawks, they addressed a much needed position at the deadline, and one of those guys is Leonard Williams. They traded for him from the Giants. He's a Pro Bowl defensive lineman. And when we played the Giants earlier this year, Leonard Williams actually was on that Giants team. And I go back to that game, and obviously the Giants didn't do much against the 49ers on Thursday night. But I went back to that game and watched Leonard Williams, and he looked really good versus the 49ers offensive line. So they have him in the interior. I think this game, we all tend to underestimate the Seahawks defensive line, but they have some guys on that defensive line that could give us problems, especially in pass protection. This is going to be a good test leading up into the Eagles game. This is going to be a good test because they also have Boye Mafe, who has a good grade. They have Uchenna Nwosu, who has a decent grade. So, they have 3 guys, Leonard Williams, Boye Mafe, Uchenna Nwosu. Not necessarily elite, but I think they're better than what the Buccaneers pass rush had. Because the Buccaneers, and except from Vita Vea, did not make a dent in the 49ers offensive line. Well, did not do very well necessarily. So if the Seattle Seahawks were smart, I ultimately think they're going to play the game defensively like this. They're going to play it. They're going to blitz Brock Purdy, and they're going to trust that their cornerbacks, which are 2 very good cornerbacks, are going to play well and one-on-one. Because I think they have the cornerbacks to play that style of football. So, it might not be the right way, but I think they're going to play it that way. We've seen what Brock Purdy does against the blitz. He's very good against it, but I just think that the Seahawks actually have good enough corners to where they can play that type of style of football one-on-one. So that's how I think they're going to attack, a little bit more blitzes, because even though they have decent pass rushers, I don't think they're going to be able to get to Brock Purdy so quickly that they're going to be able to play zone coverage. So expect one-on-one blitzes. My final score to this game, I think the 49ers are going to be able to beat them. I think that Geno Smith, when you have him at the helm, yes, the Seahawks are not good without Geno Smith, but Geno Smith, I think, is 0-3 against the Niners. Not great. And I just think the pressure is going to get to him. I think that the 49ers are going to be able to run the ball well against this team, and Brock Purdy's going to continue to cook. So without further ado, it's in Seattle. I'm going to say the 49ers get to 27 points. It's 27-23 in this game. And I think the Seahawks are going to score more than 20 points because the Seahawks have an array of talent on the offensive side of the ball. And I think